Hello and welcome to the Elevate podcast. I'm your host, Patricia Nowakowski. I am a salon owner, educator, mindset, and leadership coach that helps salon owners go from overwhelmed and burnt out to motivated and empowered. It is my mission to help you systemize your business, generate more profit, and create a career that you are absolutely in love with. Join us every week to learn about the small shifts you can make to elevate your business regarding mindset, marketing, social media, business systems, and so much more. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Elevate podcast. On today's podcast, we're going to be chatting about what I'm doing to save for retirement. I want to preface and say that I am not a financial advisor. I am not advising you to do any of the things that I am talking about in today's podcast. I am simply sharing my strategy and my personal actions I've taken to start to really prepare for my future. Do with this information what you will. So now that we got that disclaimer out of the way, I am so excited to chat about today's topic. I feel like retirement is overlooked by so many people, especially in our industry, because when people are starting off in our industry, usually they're starting off very young, and planning for retirement is the last thing on your mind, right? As we get older, there aren't really a lot of options for hairstylists. Like, we're not in a corporate environment. There usually is no 401k. There isn't anything set up by most salons for their employees. For me personally, I do have a 401k set up for my team members with a match, because that is how passionate I am about retirement. And I really try to get my team members to put into their retirement fund, because the earlier you start saving, the more impact you can have on your future. Because compounding interest, all of these things have so much more power when you begin at a younger age. Wondering what it's like to work with me? Want to know what I've tried and tested in my salon and how you can create more freedom as a salon owner? I'm excited to offer an exciting way to get my coaching lessons to you in our podcast subscription. The Elevate Insider is an inside look into my coaching calls and includes exclusive content from me. These episodes contain coaching lessons and the exact steps you need to take to grow your salon. Plus, you'll receive special PDFs and supporting documents so that you can easily take action. To learn more and to become an insider, visit opulentbeautypro.com/insider or find an episode of the Elevate Insider on Apple Podcasts. So I'm going to share all of the things that I'm doing, why I think it's important, and some tips that really have made it possible for me to actually save. I know that money is tight for so many people, and especially when you're starting off in our industry, it really feels like you're not making any money. But the more that you put away, no matter what the amount, the better you can really plan for a better future, and just in general. Why am I so passionate about saving is that it reduces stress. When we have money in the bank and we have something to fall back on, that financial stress is lifted, which can lead to just such a happier life. It eliminates the need to really stay in a bad or non-ideal situation, and it can bring the ability to jump on an opportunity if you say you want to open a salon in your future, or you have some sort of business offer of some kind. Like, having money to be able to take risks in order to grow is something that can be so beneficial to so many people. Now, touching back on not having money to save, I'm telling you, you just have to start no matter the amount. Even $5 a week can make a huge impact on your future. Even doing $25 a month, that's where I started when I first started saving and when I first started investing, because I do a lot of investing. You really just need to start with something, and it doesn't matter the amount. No amount is too little as long as you're consistent. Consistency is the key in all areas of your life for magnificent things to happen with our careers, with saving. Consistency is what really, really matters. So some things that I will also say, if you're like, I don't really have the money, these are some of the things that I've done in the past when I haven't really been financially stable in order to really be able to save for my future. And still some of the things that I do now, I don't spend a lot of money on clothes. I really am very frugal in that area. I don't care what kind of car I drive. That does not matter to me. All I care is that I don't have a car payment. And another thing that I've done is I haven't upgraded my lifestyle with the raises that I've actually made in income throughout the years. My husband and I, we live in a tiny townhouse, and we've been very tempted at times to go and buy and purchase a big home, but we chose to stay where we are because it allows us to have the freedom and the lifestyle that we want. And it also allows us to save on a regular basis so that we feel financially secure, which eliminates a lot of stress and a lot of fighting. I think a lot of people fight over finances because they stretch themselves thin. Once they get raises or they start making more money, they then begin to like elevate their lifestyle. And that's something that we just haven't done. We've stayed in the same house, which I'm going to talk about paying off our mortgage. We buy new cars and we pay them off, and then we drive them until they die, and then we get a new car. So we're holding on to our cars. I think my last Toyota I had for like 12 years. And then now I just have like a fully loaded Kia, which is fine for me, which we paid off. And I think that's like 5 years old, and I'll drive that into the ground. I just don't really care about those things. I don't really care about having like super fancy, expensive cars and things to impress people that I just don't even care about. What I care about is having money in the bank and feeling financially secure. I think when I was growing up, money was such an issue with my parents. And I just decided that I just don't want to live that way. I wanted to, really make sure that we are saving on a regular basis. Let's get started in what I have done and I'm currently doing in order to save for my retirement. The first thing that I'm going to share is something I feel like I don't want to say it's controversial, but because people don't understand it, it makes them kind of scared. So the first thing that I started to do was I started to invest in the stock market, which sounds risky, but it really isn't. And I'm going to actually give you some statistics here about your ROI when you actually invest in the stock market. And I honestly say that like every single person that comes into your life comes into your life for a reason. I've been investing in stocks, I want to say, for the last 18 years. And it's all because of somebody I dated 18 years ago. We dated for a few years. He was 10 years older than me. And I am so grateful for this relationship because this is what really started my building wealth journey, was investing in stocks. And the only reason I started investing in stocks was because this person that I dated was thinking about retirement for me. And he sat me down and he's like, listen, you need to really start saving for your future. I want you to start buying stocks. And at that time, it was like, no, the stock market's risky. I don't have the extra money for that. Like, I just moved out on my own. I just don't think I can do that. And he literally sat me down and he forced me to set up a computer share account and then kind of explained how to do smart investing in a way that was low risk, which I'm going to share with you all today. I literally started with $50 a month. That is it. And when I tell you the growth that I've received on the investments that I've made has been insanely good because of the way that I actually did the investing, because of the way that this person educated me on how to do a very low risk investment with the stock market. So first, I want to say there are two ways that you see a return on investment, and I'm going to give you the very dumbed down version for this so you can understand. There are two ways that you can actually see an ROI on the money that you invest when you are purchasing stock, right? So one, when you purchase a stock, when that stock price goes up, you make money on your investment. So for example, Hershey is one of the stocks that I started to buy when I was beginning my investment journey. When I started buying Hershey stock, it was $30 a share. Now Hershey stock is worth $188, almost $189 per share. So all of those shares that I purchased for $30, now I will see a return on each share at $188. So essentially I've made $150 per share. Not only do you make money from stocks when the stock price goes up, but you also make money when there is a dividend given by the company. Not all companies give dividends. I only invest in companies that give a yield of 2% or more. Think of a yield as your interest rate that you're receiving because you're giving a company your money as like an investment. So because you're investing in a company, they're giving you essentially a percentage of their profits. Every company is different. Hershey gives 2.9%. And I also get money that I reinvest every quarter. So it will automatically purchase more stocks for me through ComputerShare with the dividends given back to me for my investments. So that is how you make money on stock. And again, I started at $50 a month. And then every single time that I started to make more money, I would pick a different company. And this is all through automatic withdrawal, because when things are automatic and it automatically saves for you, you set it and forget it. And then you automatically are setting yourself up for success, because when we have to go and buy things, like if you think about it, if you do not have that set up on automatic pay or automatic withdrawal from your account, that $50 could have gone to like a pair of shoes or something, right? So I set it and forget it. So every time I started making more money, I would diversify my portfolio by picking a different stock in a different company, and then I would start buying $50 in another stock. So there was a point in time, which I've kind of put a kibosh on it for now because I have quite a bit invested in my ComputerShare account, but I would have $200, $500 going at a time getting pulled out of my account to automatically make investments for me. Now, some of the companies that I've chosen, I really choose because they're safe and they give a good dividend or they have a high yield. So I'm going to share today with some of the companies that I've invested in that I've seen an amazing return on investment for myself. Again, I am not a financial advisor. I am not advising you to go out and invest in the stock market. I am just sharing what I am doing for myself. And I'm sharing the companies that I have found great success in by buying and holding. Okay. So some of these companies are Colgate, Hershey, Clorox, Waste Management. I have seen, I want to say 100% increase. Keurig Dr. Pepper, Tesla. I bought Tesla when we were shut down during COVID, and it literally was one of the best purchases I could have ever made. There is also Walmart, Amazon. Those are just a couple. I want to say I have about 20 different companies in my portfolio that I've purchased over the last 18 years. And I buy a certain amount, and then I will stop once I get to a certain amount of shares. And then I will begin to purchase another company. And that's how I've grown my portfolio. Now, I want to give you some stats so you understand. And I also want to say you can do things like investing in the S&P 500. Like you don't have to buy individual stocks. Me personally, purchasing individual stocks through ComputerShare was just the easiest way. And it was something that I found success with. So I just stuck with it. Also, thank you to my ex-boyfriend who forced me to do that. Because of him, I actually have a really good chunk invested for my retirement. So the likelihood of seeing a return on your stock market investment generally increases with the length of time you stay invested. Now, these are stats that I pulled from the internet, ChatGPT, so these are legitimate stats. Let's consider the historical performance of the S&P 500 to give an idea. So when you invest in the stock market for 5 years, the probability of positive returns, historically, there is approximately a 76% chance of a positive return for 5 years. When you invest in the stock market or invest in stocks over 10 years, there is a probability of a positive return about 88% of the time. And historically, annually, 7 to 10%. Over 15 years, the probability of a positive return is more than 90% of a positive return. And an annual return is about 8 to 10%. When we're talking about 20 years or more, the probability of you having a positive return historically approaches 100% chance of a positive return. 100%. And an annual return typically around 7 to 10%. Now, where's your money going to grow like that anywhere else? It's not. That's why it's something that I am super passionate about and I love doing, because I literally have seen a huge ROI in the last 18 years in the companies that I have chosen. So I highly recommend doing your research, checking out ComputerShare. They have very, very low fees. That's another thing that you really need to do your research on when you are thinking about making an investment in the stock market. Really making sure that you're doing your research. ComputerShare really only takes a couple dollars per transactions. If you're going through like a broker or if you're going through other companies, they will take a certain percentage, and those percentages can be really high or their fees can be really high. So make sure that you look into the fees. Buying and holding for long periods of time, picking companies that have been around for a very long time, and doing your research to see their annual growth over the last 10 to 15 years. And then also choosing companies that have a high yield or dividend return are the things that I do in order to choose the companies that I have found success in. Now, my next thing that I'm doing to help save for my retirement, and to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of 401ks. It's the same thing with your 401k. What you're doing is you're picking your plan. And again, most companies are making investments in the stock market. I do a very small percentage into my 401k. I want to say I do maybe like 1 to 4% of my income. One, I have it set up through my salon. So technically I don't want to say it's a tax write-off, but it's coming out from my pay, and then the company, pays an extra percentage. And then I wanted to really set up something for my team so they have retirement, which I think is huge. The reason I'm not a huge fan of 401ks is that you can't touch the money until you're a certain age or you get penalized. I don't want anyone holding my money for me for long periods of time, and I don't want to get penalized when I want to take that money out. What happens if there's something that I want to make an investment in? My husband and I have really been talking about buying commercial property or buying in the future like a home and then keeping our current home as an investment to rent out. So not being able to have the funds and being able to liquidate them is something that I'm not a fan of. Now, I am having this because I like to diversify where I am saving. So having this as a portion of my savings is fine. Would I only invest in a 401k if I had that option and nothing like else? Sure. But I would not put all my eggs in one basket for any savings. I've heard horror stories about people's banks getting hacked and people losing money. They've had checks stolen and money taken out of their accounts and they can't recover it. There was, a scam going around where people would say that, their accounts have been hacked and then we need this reference number. And really it was just a reference to do a cash withdrawal. I mean, there are so many crazy things that you hear. So I am very big about spreading your eggs in all the baskets to set you up for a secure future. So I do have a 401k set up through my salon. If you are a salon owner, you can do this for your team. And there are so many ways that you can do this. For me, I use Square and I use their payroll, and we use a company called Guideline. My accountant was actually very impressed with their fees. Like, their fees are very low for setting it up for your team. Even she was like, I could never match this. Like, we can never do this for you at this price. And they really handle everything for you. It's a great asset to retain your team and really make sure that you're helping them set themselves up for the future. The earlier you start with retirement, the more that compound interest can really happen and the more that you can grow your money. So I really do press my team to really start even just doing 1 or 2% of their income, because it really does add up. I can't even tell you, when I say I started at $50 a month, like 18 years ago, that was all I had. Even now, like, I do small, like, little chunks of money every week in certain things. It adds up so fast. You'd be so surprised. You just have to start. The next thing I want to talk about is a high yield savings account. I have a high yield savings account through American Express. I think the interest rate is close to 5%. So this is where we keep a lot of our, like, liquid funds. We'll just say that. Every week, I will pull money out of our checking and I will have it automatically deposited into our high yield savings account through American Express. And again, that return on your investment is 5%. No banks, no savings accounts will have that interest rate. And I know you can invest in CDs and like all these things, but I don't like not being able to touch my money or not being able to pull my money out if I need it, right? So I love the American Express savings because it allows me to automatically pull money out and put it into a savings. I'm seeing a better return on investment than I would, let's say, in my Chase savings account, which I do have like my emergency fund and our vacation fund there, because I like to have different folders or money accounts for different things for our family. We have an emergency fund. We have an account for our vacation. I just set that up this year. So every week I pull money out of our paycheck and I put it towards our vacation. We really don't do Christmas presents. We decided last year that we're going to do experiences. So I'm saving for Christmas and I'm saving for that vacation. So I have that through Chase. But anything else that I'm saving for that we want to be able to like have liquid funds, I'm using the American Express high yield savings. Now, I talked about my vacation fund, but we also have an emergency fund and we have a cash emergency fund, which is not a lot, but we do keep that. And then we also have an emergency fund through Chase. Having an emergency fund is really, really important. That should be the first thing that you're funding, because if something happens, then you're not in a pickle and you have money on hand to take care of things. If your animals get sick, if something happens with your car, making sure that you are financially secure in that area to start will make a huge difference in how you are day to day, because you won't be stressing about things when you have something set up for yourself to really make sure that you're taken care of. So another thing that I have is a self-directed retirement account. If you're a salon owner or a stylist and you don't want to set up a 401k for your salon, but you do want to start saving, I highly recommend a self-directed retirement account. I think we can put up to like $7,000 of that a year. And then again, you can pick your investments. You can do high risk or low risk on the growth you want to see or the return you want to see. We do kind of like mid-range risk on that. Again, that's through the stock market, or you can do bonds. I mean, there are a lot of different options in order to choose the right investment for you. I definitely would do your research, but definitely having something that's going to grow with you as you're adding in every single month is something that is really important. With inflation and all these things, your money has to be growing. You have to see a return on investment either through an interest rate or through growth through the stock market. And then last but not least, another thing that I'm doing is we're paying off our mortgage early. One of the things that I truly want to experience in life is freedom, and not being so stuck to being forced to work behind the chair. I really just want to work behind the chair because I want to work behind the chair, but also security. Like, there are good months in business. There are bad months in business. Actually, this month I've hired so many people because I want to grow my team. So I have 1, 2, 3 new stylists who are on payroll. Okay, when you own a business, like, when you have a budget, when you have all these things happening, when you are hiring people, it has to come from somewhere, right? And that usually comes from the money that I get to take home for myself, for my family. But I know by hiring people, I'm making an investment in them. And eventually, once they get on the floor and once they start taking clients, I will see my return on investment. So when I have all of these things in place where I have an emergency funds, I have a savings, I'm saving for retirement, it makes taking risks on people so much easier for me because I feel secure financially, right? So anyways, going back to paying off my mortgage early, I literally have been paying $100, an extra payment, $500 here, $100 a week. I always throw money at our mortgage because, again, I want freedom. I don't want to be forced to work, right? Our place is really tiny. We have a small townhouse and it's great for us now. The kids are little. I know eventually we're going to have to move, but not having a mortgage just makes me so happy. We've got like $50,000 left. So every single chance that I had to throw extra money at that, I have. And that has really paid off. So that's something else I'm working on. Again, when you pay your mortgage off early, and I don't think people really break it down. Like when we take out a 30-year loan, right, for a mortgage and we're paying interest on that $200,000 mortgage could end up really being $500,000 because of the interest. Right? And I don't think people really think about that. When you think about having this mortgage and then having all of this interest, you're not like putting that really into the price. Like you're like, oh yeah, I got my place for $250,000. Well, no, you didn't. When you break down what you're paying in interest for the duration of your loan, you really end up spending way more than what you purchased the house for. Now I have to do math because I need to know. So I just asked ChatGPT. I said, if I had a $500,000 30-year loan at 5%, how much would I pay in interest over the 30 years? And it did the math for me because I couldn't figure it out. And it says, over the duration of a 30-year loan at 5% interest rate, you will pay approximately $585,762 in interest. So the house that you bought for $500,000 is really costing you, if I'm doing the reading correctly, is really costing you $1 million. That's something to think about. Like, I know a lot of people think that like investing in your home is a really great investment, but like think about how much interest you're paying. And then on top of that, think about maintenance when you're having to fix your roof, and all of these things cost so much money. So the sooner that I could get my mortgage paid down, the better. Now, will we keep it and like rent it out? I have no idea. I've heard rental horror stories, so that's something I'd have to think about. But again, paying that down early has ensured that I am not paying a crazy amount in interest, and that ROI for me is going to be much better for my future. The last piece I want to add in is having discipline. You need to be very disciplined on your spending and to not touch your investments. The whole idea is to save so that things can compound so you can make money on the money that you're saving. So work on those things, work on being very disciplined in not touching things, and work on being consistent no matter what the dollar amount is. Again, these are the things that I'm doing to save for my retirement. This is how I'm financially planning. And I wish I was more financially educated. So I wish somebody would have shared this with me. And that's why I really wanted to do this podcast, because it's never too late to start. It's never too late to educate yourself on how to financially be smart and to start making investments in the stock market, really making investments that can really grow your wealth. Like I said, you can start now with $5 a week. It does not have to be anything crazy. You just have to be consistent, and you just have to find something that will actually make you money as you're saving. So I hope today's episode was beneficial to you. If you liked today's episode, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Be sure to leave a review. And if you are not following us on Instagram, it's Opulent Beauty Pro. And if you like today's episode, be sure to check out the Elevate Insider. That's where you will find full episodes and really step-by-step things that you can take to grow your business and to really create the life that you love behind the chair. Thanks for tuning in to the Elevate podcast. If you loved this episode, it would mean the world to me if you would leave a review on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen. The Elevate podcast is hosted by me, Patricia Nowakowski, and is produced by Opulent Beauty Pro. To receive my free business guides, visit opulentbeautypro.com/free or click the link in the show notes. You can find me on Instagram at Opulent Beauty Pro or at Patricia_Nowakowski_OBS. If you love this show, please consider subscribing, and we will see you next week.